Okay. There we go. Okay, so as you heard, my background and specialty is as a red carpet makeup artist for celebrities, beauty queens, supermodels, politicians, musicians. For the majority of my life, for real, and all of my career, I've been fascinated with how to make a person more visible, but more importantly, to help women feel worthy of their beauty and sustain that feeling of beauty far beyond sitting in my makeup chair. Why is this important to me? Because I am interested in seeing more women of power in politics, at the boardroom, in clean energy, as well as technology. We are needed and it's necessary. So while I was on a cross-country tour with Revlon Cosmetics as their spokesperson, what I started to do was to compile some research for my book, Fearless Beauty 360, which she mentioned before, a complete guide to self-acceptance and empowerment. And what I realized is that out of hundreds of women who sat in my makeup chair, about 9 out of 10 of them had something negative to say about their appearance. This happened to coincide with the Dove Real Beauty study that showed that about 80% of women were dissatisfied with their appearance. On average, women are spending upwards of $59 billion a year on beauty products alone, and another $16 billion on plastic surgery and procedures for our enhancement. We have more products, more procedures, more services at our disposal to improve the way that we look and feel about our appearance. And yet, we have a very disproportionate amount of women who are unhappy and unsatisfied with their body image. And so about 10 million women in the United States are suffering from some type of eating disorder, whether it's anorexia or obesity. And while our spending is going up, another trend is happening. Our self-image is also going down. Our self-image, or the way that we look, this thing needs to change. If we're going to be in seats of power and be in places where our faces are not seen. So what I'm feeling is that right now, as it stands, the way that we look at beauty, our society, is a very narrow ideal of what beauty is, right? And it's usually something that we get from outside of us. And we try to fit within those very narrow ideas. And the fear is that we'll be different or that we'll disappear. And it's time to reverse that, right? It's time for this trend to go a different way. And I feel that it's possible to do that if we have a different relationship with our own beauty. And one that is more sustainable throughout our lifetime, as well as more sustainable for our planet. And it's about self-care. So how do we start that? I have 3 ways in which we can start that. 1, learn how to give compliments versus comparing ourselves. The second is shifting our attention from physically looking good to whole body well-being. And the third is, and final and most important, which is what I want to really talk about today, is adopting a culture of forgiveness. So how many of you have heard of this saying? Comparison is the thief of joy. Not only does it steal our joy, it really does insult our very existence. It keeps us from being creative, and it also hinders our self-expression. So what I believe is that nothing about you should be like anyone else. We're unique beings for a reason. So instead of using comparisons, we can use compliments instead. So instead of saying, her hair is fuller than mine, we can say, I love her hair. It's beautiful on you. It's nice and full. Or oh my goodness, these jeans are too small for me, versus, you know what, I look really good in Levi's, I'm gonna go get those. Very simple, right? Shifting our language to compliments keeps us in an attitude of gratitude, and it accentuates our uniqueness, which I think is very necessary right now to build ourselves up. If we don't, we'll keep spending our money, going financially and emotionally broke, and filling our landfills till it's overflowing with endless dead promises from products that aren't really doing what they promise to do. So I can't be Kenetia if I'm too busy being Oprah, right? I can, however, become the best Kenetia and nurture my specific gifts and my design. Which brings me to why I feel we need to switch from looking good physically to whole body well-being. I love this quote. We are all spiritual beings that have a human experience, which in essence to me means who we are being speaks very loud, and it speaks way louder than any words coming out of our mouth or what we're wearing. We are in essence sensory beings, and it means so much more how we are showing up, the way that we're showing up, as opposed to what we have on our backs. So absolutely nothing outside of you is going to change how you see and feel about your self-image, not your clothes, your new hairdo, your new weight loss, especially if that something new is to fix you. And why is that, you ask? Because we are not broken. But what we can do is we can nurture ourselves so that we give from our overflow, and our being is what shows up when we show up. Here is my example of mind, body, spirit. I think, once we start giving some of the attention or taking some of the attention away from our physical body and evenly distributing it to, our spirit and emotional development, we have a more well-rounded individual. And we can become at one with our physical appearance. Here's just a few examples, but there's hundreds, and none of these make a difference if you don't schedule them in your busy calendar, right? So I'm urging you to at least take some time to definitely switch some of our attention from our nails and hair and feet and all that to a more well-rounded body, mind, spirit. Which brings me to my last point, which I think is the most important for our culture to adopt, which is a culture of forgiveness. I think we should make forgiveness like brushing our teeth. Like we do it every day, twice a day, right? I used to say when I was a little girl, especially to kids that were talking badly about me, I'm rubber, you're glue, everything you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Remember that? Yeah, I used to say that a lot. And one of the reasons I used to say it is because it was a reminder to myself that my thoughts and what I said was really a reflection about myself more than anything. Some of us may have really tiny transgressions to forgive. Like, that girl has more followers than me and I can't stand her. And others of us have larger transgressions to forgive, right? For me, I had to let go of something that happened to me when I was around 5. I was sitting in the back seat of my parents' 1979 pink Cadillac. My dad was driving, my mom was on the passenger side, he was leaning out the window. We were rolling down the streets of Chicago, and I was counting the houses as we passed them by. I remember coming to a stop and seeing a green house over to the side. And I yelled out, "Hey, Daddy, Daddy, that's Rachel's house." And in the next instant, my mom's face filled with tears. She starts hitting my dad uncontrollably. My dad swerves over to the side of the road. They get out of the car. They're arguing and fighting with each other. And I'm 5 years old in the back trying to get out of the seatbelt. Please stop it. Don't hurt each other. Little did I know, Rachel was my dad's mistress. And before this time, I was called the backpack kid because every single place my dad went, I was on his back instead of in a stroller. We were like peanut butter and jelly. We were the perfect match. I loved him with all of my heart. That love and that relationship quickly turned to hate and bitterness. And as that relationship changed, so did that rambunctious, outgoing woman, that little woman in the back seat. She changed to someone that was very scared and timid, afraid to speak up, unlovable, looking for love unconditionally that she thought she had before that time. And so I knew at that point, because I couldn't see myself for many, many, many years, that I had a choice, that I could continue to see myself as the scared, timid, unlovable person, trying really, really hard not to have something like that happen to me again, or I can let it go so I can see who I really was and what I could really do. Now, none of you could have my same story at all. But I get that to a small degree, or maybe even a large degree, we hold on to things a little longer than we should. And if we can learn to forgive and let those things go, we can learn to love and forgive ourselves and have more compassion for how we show up in the world. And we can then have seats at the table and feel comfortable and confident to be politicians, to get criticized without having it be a thing, or to be in the boardroom making really hard decisions. This, to me, is really important. So in my book, what I've done is I have a series of questions to help people get to that point of forgiveness. The first question, however, I believe is the most important, which is, am I willing? Are you willing to look at it and look to see if you can forgive? And if you can answer that question with a yes, then you can definitely switch the conversation that you're having with yourself from one of looking to get beauty to one of self-care and looking to have your beauty come out from within. I appreciate your time. I look forward to all of you sitting at the table and becoming the best yous that you can be. Thank you.